Alright guys, so I got this in the mail today, actually yesterday, but if you remember, we said the gauges on the Silverado were not working, so I bought this cheap little kit off of eBay. Don't even know what's in here. Looks like we got some solder and some bulbs. Oh, we got the motors right here. This is mainly what I was after. I bought a cheap kit off of, actually, Amazon. It was $15, I think, and it had all this stuff in there. So we got the little motors here. That's what we're looking for. We got a cheap soldering iron and a cheap sucker and a little pry tool. So I'm going to show you guys how to take the cluster out and repair it. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so just so that you can see, our fuel gauge here, it's not working. We got RPMs. Speedometer works too, but we also have no volt meter. So everything else is working on the cluster, but we're going to take it out and solder those two new motors in place. Alright guys, so we're going to start by lowering that down, and this thing just unclips here, so you get your fingers underneath it, give it a good tug, and the whole thing comes right off. Turn your key on, get that to move out of the way, comes right out, just like that. Put it back in the park. It looks like we got 4 bolts here. It looks like they're 8mm. We're just gonna go ahead and get our ratchet here. They might be 7s. I'm gonna try a 7 first and see if that works. Yeah. So they're 7mm. It looks like we got 4 of them. Turn our key off now. And we just gotta take those off. So we got all 4 screws out. Now we just got to pull on this thing there a little bit. Get it out of here. Flip it down again. There you go. And you can see she's got 1 plug here on the back. I'll go ahead and show you guys. See? Just like that. And all you got to do is squeeze them together and it should pop right out of there. Like that. So we got our cluster out. We'll go ahead and take it inside and get it apart and fix it up. Alright guys, so pretty much now we just got to pry this thing apart. Sometimes you're kind of pain to get apart, but they come apart. You might have to use a little screwdriver on these bottom ones sometimes, but sometimes you just kind of yank on them and they pull up. Just try not to break the clips here on the bottom. They're pretty delicate. So we'll put that piece to the side over there. And we got our faces here. So I think we got to pry these off here. It looks like I might have moved everything already. So you can actually leave the face on there. So you just want to take off the little needles. And we got to pop off the bottom side of this. See? There you go. So be real careful with this piece. Try not to scratch it or anything. It's pretty delicate here in the little display piece. So we'll put that one over there. And there you guys go. As you can see, somebody's already modified this one here. It's got blue LEDs. And it looks like it already has new motors on it, so I might have to see what's wrong with it. I guess I'll just get started on desoldering these motors and go in from there. Alright guys, so now what we got to do is we're going to have to match these up. So we got the fuel gauge that wasn't working and our volt gauge that wasn't working. So it looks like it's going to be these two here. They're crisscross from each other. I'm going to have to flip this over and see which ones I got to desolder. Alright guys, so I got my cheap eBay soldering gun warmed up, and I don't know how well you guys can see, but I'm going to try and desolder some of these. It looks like these are pretty well blobbed on there, so I'm just going to do them over and hope for the best. So we'll see how this goes. Alright guys, so we got it off of there. Looks like somebody did a pretty poor job of soldering these top two ones here. So they look pretty burnt up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this thing to work, but I'm just going to blob a bunch of solder on there and see if it'll connect to that second point there. And I still got to desolder this one here. So I'll get back to it. It's all good, we don't need that one. We got 4 extras. There we go. So I gotta solder these two back in there. It looks like 3 of them have burnt off pads. So I'm gonna have to try and bend the little wire as far as I can towards that secondary test pad. And see if I can get it to solder to that thing there. Holy shit, Batman. Woo-wee. That's something not to do. They are almost touching those pads, so we are good. With the solder, there should be enough fill in there to on to motor number 2. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can see, but we're going to bend these towards that second pad because all these are melted off. Just like that. We're going to do this one left-handed. When you solder, you want to be as quick as possible with these little pads. It's a little touch, in and out, call it a day. So now it's just time to put her back together and put her in the truck and see if she's going to work. Alright, so this is our first startup and we'll see what she does. I just plugged it in. Alright, so looks like I am showing Well, looks like we got a little bit of a fuel reading. Voltmeter's working. Temp gauge is working. And she probably is on empty, so I'm gonna say she's working. Except I got my needles a little bit off on the speedometer and the tach, so I'm gonna take this back apart, pop it off. It looks like I gotta go up a little bit on this one and quite a bit on that one, so I'll get that fixed and we'll be on our way. Alright guys, so I fixed the off position, so we're just gonna go ahead and put this back together really quick and I'll show you guys when she's done. There she goes. Alright, so we drove her down to the gas station. We're gonna see if we can put some fuel in her. So we can see right now the gauge is at almost empty. Everything else is working. The temp gauge works great, RPMs work great, speedometer was just working. So let's put some gas in her and see if she goes up. Alright, so the moment of truth here. Oh yeah! Put 20 bucks in her, got almost half a tank. So, that sounds about right. Looks like she's working. Heck yeah. So guys, this was a pretty cheap and easy mod. It was 15 bucks and it took me, give or take, an hour with the recording and everything. So if I would have probably just got right to it, it might have took me maybe only half an hour. So for 15 bucks you can repair your Chevy cluster. So if you want to give it a whack, looks like somebody had already tried with me with mine. So it looks like you get about 2 tries per cluster. So if you mess it up the first time, it's not a big deal. Just take it apart and try it again. Keep it up and hustle hard.